EFCC grills Nwobike on alleged perversion of justice, unlawful gratification. The prosecutor for the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, Rotimi Oyedepo, in a cross-examination session at the Lagos State High Court in Ikeja, grilled Joseph Nwobike on charges of perversion of the course of justice and unlawful gratification of public officials. Mr. Nwobike, who took the witness stand to give testimony in his own criminal trial on Tuesday, answered a series of questions that the prosecution asked to prove that the embattled senior advocate gratified justices and other court clerical staff of the Federal High Court. The EFCC also claimed that Mr. Nwobike engaged in sending illegal text messages to 4 registrars of the Federal High Court in a bid to unduly influence his cases being tried by the judges. Mr. Nwobike, however, denied all the allegations. The prosecutor asked the senior lawyer if he had forwarded some names to one Mr. Baruwa, a clerk of the Federal High Court, to monitor in the event that the commission preferred charges or instituted any action against them. Mr. Nwobike denied ever engaging the clerk in such a manner. To further prove the charges, Mr. Oyedepo showed the court an exchange of SMS texts between Mr. Baruwa and Mr. Nwobike. In one of the messages sent by Mr. Baruwa, he acknowledged receiving the golden handshake of the lawyer and prayed for more grease on his elbow. You received and read a text from Mr. Baruwa saying, "Thank you sir, Kelani gave me your special package." On June 3, 2015 at 10:10 a.m., you received a text from Mr. Baruwa saying, "Good morning sir, I just got a golden handshake from Mr. Felix, sir." Exhibit D2 is a statement of account from your law chambers. On January 17, 2011 you transferred N50,000 to Mr. Baruwa, Mr. Oyedepo said. The counsel for the EFCC also informed the court that Mr. Nwobike sent text messages to a deputy registrar of the Federal High Court, one Mr. Jide, to influence the assignment of his cases to his preferred judges. You sent this text to one Mr. Jide of the Federal High Court. The text reads, "Hours should go to Justice Yinusa or Justice Anek." The hours in the text message, was it a case that you filed? Mr. Oyedepo asked, to which Mr. Nwobike responded by saying, "I can't say." Mr. Oyedepo also claimed that the suit Mr. Nwobike allegedly tried to influence was between Imcon and Delta Steel Company Limited with suit No. FHC/L/CS/127/2015. On September 4, 2015, you forwarded the suit details of First Bank v. OPI International Limited, and you mentioned that the suits should be assigned to Justice Boob. As at September 4, 2015 when you sent that text message, the matter was not yet assigned to any judge, Mr. Oyedepo said. On November 27, 2015, at 10:46 a.m., you sent a text message to Mr. Jide giving details of Godwin Eklu v. Inspector General of Police. When the text was forwarded, Justice Kuria was a judge of the Federal High Court and you impressed it on Jide that it was very urgent that the case be assigned to him. Mr. Oyedepo also said in the suit between Skybank plc and Brockyard Marine Oil and Gas Services Limited, the embattled lawyer forwarded the suit details to Mr. Jide when the said oil company was under the investigation of the commission. Mr. Nwobike denied the allegation, saying the messages were confirmation text messages. On whether I knew that Brockyard Marine Oil and Gas Services were under an investigation by the EFCC, I don't know because I don't work for the EFCC, he added. The prosecution accused the senior advocate of obstructing the prosecution of one Femi Thomas, a client of Mr. Nwobike, who was allegedly caught at the Murtala International Airport with $200 million. The EFCC lawyer said, on November 11, 2015, you sent a message to Mr. Jain of the Federal High Court about a criminal charge filed against your client, Dr. Femi Thomas, asking that it should be assigned to Justice Sidhu. This suit was eventually assigned to Justice Sidhu, and as at 1:23 p.m. on the day you sent the text, this matter was not assigned to any judge. Are you aware, as a senior advocate of Nigeria, that it is an offense not to declare an amount exceeding $10,000? Are you aware that the amount your client was traveling with was $200 million? The senior lawyer said he was not aware that it was crime. In a desperate bid to prevent the EFCC from continuing the investigation, you instituted a fundamental rights action, Exhibit P23. You forwarded details of this suit in a text to Mr. Jain, and in the usual manner, you mentioned Justice Yunusa to handle the case. Upon instituting this suit, the EFCC appeared before Justice Yunusa and the matter was resolved by his lordship, the prosecution claimed. The prosecution also strived to prove, through a number of questions, that Mr. Nwobike influenced the assigning of his cases to Justice Rita Ophilia-Jumagobia. Justice Ophilia-Jumagobia, who is currently answering charges of unlawful enrichment of the same court put before Justice Hakeem Oshodi, was indicted in the course of the cross-examination. Mr. Nwobike was also accused of interfering in a case involving Mrs. Beauty Akpobolakemi, the wife of Mr. Patrick Akpobolakemi, the former Director General of the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, NIMASA, who is standing trial over alleged fraud. On November 9, 2015, you received and read a message from Mr. Baruwa of the Federal High Court forwarding the details of a case between Mrs. Beauty Akpobolakemi and the EFCC. The text informed you that the case had been assigned to Justice Rita Ophilia-Jumagobia and you filed a suit against the EFCC, the prosecutor said. He accused the lawyer of filing the suit against the EFCC in the middle of an EFCC investigation into Mr. Akpobolakemi. Prior to November 9, 2015, you forwarded a text to Mr. Jain where the name of Justice Rita Ophilia-Jumagobia was mentioned. On that day, you sent a text to Mr. Baruwa saying, "Okay, please take the file there now." At 5:32 p.m., you forwarded the particulars of the case to Jain and this matter was eventually assigned to Justice Jumagobia, Mr. Oitapo said. I don't know when the case of Beauty Akpobolakemi v. the EFCC was assigned. It's not correct that I sent some names to Baruwa to monitor in case the EFCC files some charges, Mr. Nwobike responded. Ngajawa was also mentioned. Other judges mentioned are Justices Samson Uwaifo, Justice Yunusa, and Justice Agbadufish. On July 3, while being led in evidence by his defense counsel, Mr. Olawale San, Mr. Nwobike told the court that the money he allegedly gave to the judges as gratification was assistance. He had noted that the judges were old friends with whom he had been acquainted while in university, long before they were assigned as judges. Mr. Nwobike is being tried by the EFCC on an 11-count charge bordering on perverting the course of justice and offering gratification to public officials. Justice Raliya adjourned the case to 10:30 a.m. on July 12 for continuation of trial.